Hey, today I show you how I do my oil finish. And before we start, make sure that your workpiece is clean and dry and you stripped off all your metal parts. I'm using for my oil finish pure linseed oil. The advantages here are that the pure linseed oil penetrates deeper into the wood and makes for better protection. The downside is that the drying time is increased, so you probably need a week or more to make the finish. So we are starting with applying the first coat. That's depending on your wood, you need more or less. So what you do is you pour oil on your wood, spread it. You can use a brush or your hands. And then you let it sit for a while, for a few minutes. In this time the wood will absorb the oil, and basically if then oil is left after a few minutes, this is excess oil you need to remove.
So especially here at the end grain, the wood is sucking the oil in quite strong. I mean, it's due to the grains. So make sure that you apply enough oil. You can always remove the excess oil.
So when you're done wiping off the excess oil, two things are important. The one thing is the drying of the oil takes time. So 2 days, 3 days, depending on how much oil you applied. And secondly, it's not really a drying process, it's more like an oxidation reaction. And this reaction is exotherm, so heat gets released. It's quite important what you do with the thread here. If you just do like this and throw it in the corner, it's a fire hazard. Clean it, wash it, or what I do is normally I put it over a stone like this, so it can't catch fire. Really important. And secondly, you saw it when you look at the pure oil and also look at this rack. This oil here has a yellowish tone to it. I really like it with the dark wood here, so it makes it the color warmer, and actually don't see it, the effect is not so strong. But if you apply it on pine, for example, which is unstained, you would get a yellowish color. So keep that in mind before you applying the oil finish. So after 2 days, the wood feels relatively dry and you can see the color change. It's darker and for me it looks also warmer. When applying the second and third coat, use less oil. For the last coat I used in the past the Line Oil Finis. It's basically a preheated and oxidized oil. It's much thicker, so you have to be very careful when applying it that you don't put too much on top of it. But recently I switched for the last coat to a wax-based finish. That's pretty easy to make. You mix wax with oil and also a little bit paint thinner and heat it, and then you can make it really soft. Also, of course, you could put in pigments. It's good for covering mistakes, or even if you want to get a vintage style on your piece. And you have, for example, you could wax a white painted cabinet with a dark wax, and you get this vintage style to it. I waited for about 1.5 hours and then I removed the excess wax. Now this probably needs a few more days until the surface is not sticky anymore and also it doesn't smell. And that is how I do my oil finish. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, subscribe and see you in the next one.